What is up, guys? DT Ninja here to give you guys my RuroKen Hokkaido Arc Chapter 40 discussion. Okay, guys, I know it's been a while since my last discussion, but finally here it is, and we're going to discuss Chapter 40, which was about Hyobei and his massacre of the government officials, as well as the Abe family, and also the upcoming battle. So, if you guys don't know already, Chapter 41 has already dropped, and I am currently working on it, so I will be giving you guys some spoilers for what's to come, especially on Hyobei. So, let's get to the discussion. Number one, what kind of battle type does Hyobei have? Now, what I mean by battle type is all the Kinkaku Heki have a battle type. So, for example, Ono was the axe, right? That's kind of his battle type. And for Hyobei, it's a bit different. So, he uses Sekiriki in this chapter, which is blood red, and that's when your blood vessels are increasing your stamina, your strength. So we get to see that Hyobei is actually human. But it looks so badass because, his muscle structure is showing through the mask. I mean, it just looks really cool. Yeah. And then he uses his battle type, which is Senkei Nijin Baori. And what that means is battle type double-edged Haori. Now, what a Haori is basically like the jacket coat-like kimono that they wear in traditional Japanese. Haori, like this. So that's what that is. He actually uses his Haori as a weapon, which is very unique because remember in my review I talked about how interesting it would be if his crest on his jacket, on his coat, had some kind of significance. And while I don't think the crests themselves have significance, but the fact that he has this ability to use his Haori as a weapon and defense, that gives significance in itself. So that's very interesting. So, double-edged Haori, that kind of tells me that he can use his own coat, his Haori, as a weapon or to defend against other attacks. So very, very unique. He combines Sekiriki, so his blood red eyes are showing, which is pretty badass, right? I mean, he's got a skull mask, so you can see through it. But yeah, it's really cool. And obviously his dual blades, his scythe blades are shown as well. So it's kind of a combination of things. He uses Sekiriki, he's got his double scythe blades, and this style is all combined, and that is his battle type. So that's just a little hint at it. Now, there's a little bit more to it. He's got special techniques that are revealed in this chapter. One of them is to defend against oncoming attacks. Okay, so Ichigawa, he's the police chief. He basically yelled at Abe because he wasn't doing what he's supposed to do, and he failed to protect. Well, he wasn't really supposed to protect, but he failed in the mission because, Ichigawa's buddies got mercilessly slaughtered by Hyobei. Anyways, he calls the army, in which we all know that Hyobei has knowledge of this, so they show up in this chapter, and the captain of the army is there, and there's multiple soldiers all surrounding Hyobei. It looks like, oh my gosh, it's just like they're all going to attack him all at once, and they do. So they all shoot their guns at him, and bullets are flying every which way. He literally has his blades, and he crosses them like this, his scythe blades. And that's when he says Nijin Baori. So you see like his Haori kind of cloth, it's like surrounding in the back. He's kind of got like this, what is it? It's part of his Haori, kind of his belt, this sash kind of circles around him. It looks so badass. And that's when he creates this power, and he calls it Iron Blue Curtain. crested square. So literally a wall of iron, but it's actually made of cloth from a haori or a kimono. So literally his powers are from a kimono or his haori, but it's made of iron. So my thinking here is that it's probably iron sand because we did see Ono's power, and remember he dipped his hands in iron sand to make them, lethal, an axe, right? That was kind of his power. But here he's using his cloth to create a new kimono, like manipulating his own haori to create others. So this one is called, like I said, Iron Blue Curtain Crested Square. So the crest is a square, so it's in the shape of a square, and it looks like this invisible wall. Obviously it's not invisible because it comes up, but it's like a wall surrounding, him, so he can't get hit. And so the bullets are flying, and they just sit there and almost absorbed by the fabric. So I'm saying this has to be a very strong, kind of fabric, right? It's made of iron, but also it is, made of cloth. It's a haori. It's part of a kimono, and the crest is something that he keeps coming up with. So it's like a formal one, traditional style. So the Japanese traditional style kimonos, they have crests, family crests. So he comes up with that, and that's what his technique is. It's a defensive technique, but it's really unique. It's like a wall surrounding him, and there's no way that those bullets are going to touch him. So it's just a really badass way of stopping all the bullets. It's not as flashy as Byakuya, just taking it and then licking it, you know what I mean? But it is pretty badass, I gotta admit. Okay, so that's one. The second one is even crazier, guys. So the first one, he creates a blue iron kimono wall, right? A curtain. He calls it a curtain. Now this one, he creates crimson. Now I don't know if it's because the crimson literally creates blood because it's an attack, but it's called the Merciless Crimson Wool Crested Sphere. So literally he uses his double scythe blades and his double-edged haori style, and you see him attacking with both of his blades, but then you see this sphere. So everyone decides to get their swords out. Okay, so the bullets aren't working, so all the soldiers decide, hey, let's just stab him. So you got 15 guys stabbing him all at once, and right before he does that, you see his eyes shine, and that's when he says, this technique, this merciless crimson wool crested sphere. So literally he attacks them with his blades, but then you see this sphere, it's crazy. He's attacking so many times that they're caught in this sphere. I call it a wall of death, a caged wall of death. They're literally trapped in this sphere. So he created this, just like the square that was a defense. This one is offense. So literally from his haori, he's able to create this sphere using his blades and his haori. It's very unique. I like how different it is. I mean, that's very unique because, like I said, he can manipulate the cloth of his own haori and create new ones. So literally he created this sphere and they can't get out of it. So he's literally just chopping them up. And at the end, you'll see his blade on the end of it, there's a skull on the end of it. And it's holy hell, that's the guy that he just was fighting a few moments ago. So literally he created bones. So there's another reason why he's called the Skull, not just because he dresses like he's a Shinigami, not just because he can see into their souls and their memories, that's one of his techniques, but no, he can actually create skulls using his power. That's just crazy. insane. It's really kind of concerning as well because you got Saito and Nagakura, but like this guy is on another level. His techniques are just so out there. It's like, how do you face this guy? But yeah, when I saw this, I was just like blown away because I really didn't know what was going on. Like his attacks, was he attacking them all, just with his blades? Was it multiple things? I think when he attacks them, like literally his Haori surrounds them, or he creates a Haori cloth, kind of like, and it's made of wool, obviously, and it's like a spherical cage, so they can't get out of it, so they're trapped, and then he just literally slaughters them until they're nothing but bones. So that was crazy. That was just wow, that was craziness. So yeah, Hyobei pretty epic in this chapter. We get to see his power. Yeah, so those are the spoilers. And at the end, Hyobei finally someone rescues the captain. He's running away, and right as he's running away, Nagakura and Saito both show up. So they're right about to fight. So that's towards the end, and of course Abe has his hand on his half of his face, and he looks kind of evil looking, kind of sinister, and he's like, finally I get to see the Shinsengumi fall, the downfall of the Shinsengumi. So we can see Abe really wants to see them lose. So, but yeah, that's kind of what happens in this chapter. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, and even my explanation, that's based on my translations of the techniques. I'm not exactly sure if that is actually how he carried out that technique, but that's just my feeling because he's able to manipulate his Haori, and create, some kind of attack and defense using his own unique, Haori as well as his blades. He combines them to make his own style. So that's my take on it, but you can, once the chapter comes out, you guys can see what you think yourself. I will be talking about it in the review and the next discussion as well, but I figured, why not give you guys something to look forward to and also give you, some spoilers, Okay, number 2. Is it possible that Abe's wife reminds Mishima of Tokio? So, or even his own mother. So in the chapter, we get Mishima, who is Eiji, right? And he meets Abe's wife, right? So Abe's wife's really happy-go-lucky. She's very motherly. Obviously, she's a mother. And he acts very, very grateful to her. And he goes in and has dinner with them and everything. And he kind of has the family kind of moment with them. So my whole thing here, you can see like she invites him to dinner, and he meets Abe's son. So that was kind of nice. But what I was getting down to, is it possible that Watsuki and Kaoru Kurosaki, because they both work on this story, is it possible that they are giving us a hint at what Saito's wife could be like? Because we saw Mishima's reaction to her kindness and kind of, please come, even though Abe is kind of similar to an enemy to Mishima and Saito and Nagakura, they're kind of, there's hate there, but at the same time, the family is different. You're getting another side of Abe and really understanding who the man is. So, but is it possible that they could be giving a hint at what Saito's wife is like? Because we saw him in the family moment, and you can see, he has that family kind of, happy feeling that he probably hasn't felt in a long time because he's with an entire family. Because remember, Saito's not around, right? He was with Tokio for a long time, and probably, her father and, their family and everything. But that's just something I was thinking about because there were some other characters, for example, Yoshie Sugimura. When he was first introduced, he was thought to be Kaoru's father because remember, he said, I'm no longer a samurai. There are no more samurai, and he kind of had this, kind of cockiness, but also he kind of reminded me of Koshijiro. So, and that kind of gave us an idea of what Koshijiro is like because we got the introduction of Nagakura Shinpachi. So they kind of both have the similar personalities. They're both swordsmen, they're both masters of dojos. So yeah, there were a lot of similarities. So I'm thinking maybe it's possible that, Tokio is similar to Abe's wife, and that was kind of an introduction showing Mishima's reaction. But what do you guys think? Another one would be Hyobei. Hyobei has this viciousness, he has this maddening kind of look on his face and just the way he acts and, just the character himself. He reminds me of Jine Udo or Kurogasa. And I've mentioned this several times, but these two comparisons kind of make me think that possibly Abe's wife right here is similar to Tokio because of how Mishima reacted to her and just, the family moments that he enjoyed. So that's just my feeling. Okay, number 3. Who runs the Abe family orchard? I'm talking about the apple orchard behind Abe's house, and they run an apple orchard. It's huge, right? So we get a little insight into what, Abe does judo. Remember, he was eating the apple. He's actually tasting it for, is it good enough for this season and kind of thing. We kind of get an idea. And we also learn about Abe's wife, and she's very knowledgeable about apples as well. You see apple books everywhere in the house. You see apples, spread out and... so we get an idea, but I get a feeling that, it's husband and wife. I feel like Judo and his wife both run it. She probably runs it while he's at work, and they run it together as, husband and wife. That's just my feeling on it. But this might also explain a few things. This might also explain, he found someone that has a love for apples. That's how he fell in love. And also, it also would explain why she's like his only friend. He doesn't really have any friends. Yes, he did have the friend from the past, but as you can see, he doesn't have that, ever since that happened with Hattori Sensei, his former friend, Washio, is kind of out of the picture. And that might explain why she says, oh, you really don't have any friends over ever. So it might explain a little bit why, because he's so busy with the business. But also he, his wife shares that with him. And that's really the only thing that they do besides his government, official business. But it's interesting to think about. What do you guys think? I think it's husband and wife. Because she's very knowledgeable. I mean, she talked about America, she talked about Johnny Appleseed, she talked about all these things that are very unique. She talked about Awamori, she talked about, the things that Mishima also knew and people that are very famous and also, invest in apples. So anyways, let's get to the next question. What role do you think Judo Abe will play in the upcoming battle? Could he be just a spectator, like I mentioned at the end of this at this chapter, the spoiler, chapter 41, the one that I just mentioned? Is he just going to watch them? Or is he going to have this revelation during the battle? Like maybe he's going to see them losing and maybe he's going to act, okay? Maybe someone's going to show up and he's going to be reminded of that scene of what happened to his sensei. Or maybe he'll be reminded of what Hattori Sensei said to him. and we'll see a flashback in the past with Washio or something. Maybe he'll realize that maybe his vendetta is just kind of pointless in the end because he's relying way too much and focusing too much on the past instead of moving forward. Because remember, Hatori said, move forward into the new era. He didn't say stay stuck in the past, and that's what Abe's doing. He's really stuck in the past, and that's why he doesn't have any friends. That's why he's so bitter. That's why he's a jerk. But yeah, I do like the fact that we got an insight into who Judo Abe truly is, the man. And his wife pretty much shows that. She knows him better than anyone because they work on the orchard together. And pretty much that is his best friend, his wife. So anyways, okay, the next one. Who do you think will show up and lend a hand and help out in the battle against Hyobe? So Saito and Nagakura obviously are fighting Hyobe. And as I said in the recent chapter, they finally get to him and they're finally going to fight in front of the tower, the clock tower. So who is going to show up? I feel like, especially after learning what he's able to do, what he's capable of, I feel like Nagakura and Saito, their power, their strength is not going to be enough to face Hyobe alone. Now, yes, Nagakura has a very, very strong ability. It's a very unique, that sealing technique that, you can seal their swords or even their movements. That could be strategy there. That's what I think could happen. They might use strategy to win this battle. But I do feel like someone has to possibly show up and help them. And maybe, Abe might even be that third person. I don't know. But that's interesting to think about. So I have a few things. Number one, Aoshi Shinamori. Now, the reasoning behind this is because he's been mentioned several times in this arc, several times in Hokkaido, by the Kenkaku Heki themselves, by, people that have worked for him, or, who employed them. I'm talking about Kanryu. Kanryu mentioned him. One of the Kenkaku Heki member, I think it was Honda, mentioned him. So a lot of people mentioned Aoshi. Even Kenshin mentioned him. So several people have mentioned Aoshi Shinamori. Now, my reasoning is not just because of that, but that is one, thing towards that. But the second reason, he has two blades. Okay, we have a dual blade villain in Hyobe, and then you got dual kodachis with Aoshi. That would be really unique to see a battle with two swords against one another. That's not normal, but that would be pretty interesting. Now, my last reason would be because Aoshi is based on a Shinsengumi vice captain Hijikata, who is someone that Saito and Nagakura greatly respected. Now, yes, they kind of had their falling out, especially Nagakura, with their commanders, but I do feel like that would be very interesting because this is the Shinsengumi elegy, and imagine Aoshi showing up and the two of them see like the spirit of their vice captain, kind of behind them, and we just see like, the Shinsengumi kind of feeling that they had in the past, and that would be really unique, I feel. But also Aoshi showing up would be awesome. We've been wanting to see that. The second one would be Koshijiro Kamiya himself. This would be out of the blue, unexpected, really awesome as well, because we've been waiting to see where he's been, but it would be really unique for him to show up and lend a hand, and we would get to see, what he can do. But also, it could also, move the plot forward because he, supposedly knows the location of the base for the Kenkaku Heki. Also, the skull does too. So, but anyways, That's a very interesting thing to think about. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think someone's going to show up? Also, there's a possibility that one of Saito's enemies from the past, and I'm talking about the Kenkaku Heki member who has a scar on his face that mentioned, "I'm going to kill you, Saito." He left for Sapporo, so maybe he could show up as well. So it might not just be Hyobei that they have to worry about in this battle, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But yeah, that's my discussion, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I gave you guys a little hint at the spoilers for the latest chapter. So look forward to that, and I will keep you updated on my Facebook page, DT Ninja 831. So I will see you guys in the next one.